Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon, or rather, dungeon harem for short, that's pretty much what the title means, is another generic light novel, adaptation about generic fantasy bullshit and harem hoes. It might as well have been set in an RPG game to complete the deal. I mean, the guy even levels up as though it were an RPG. Did I mention it was generic? I mean, just reading the synopsis can tell you that. It naturally has a generic-ass blank slate beta protagonist who's totally oblivious and is initially incompetent but aspires to get stronger. But he has a special skill that nobody's ever seen before, and girls take interest in him instantly for no reason. Even the ultra cool and hyped up princess. It's obvious that he'll have a harem in no time. The character designs are incredibly generic fantasy RPG fare a la the likes of Sword Art Online, with girls who wear impractical short skirts into battle. The girls are often dressed like hoes and almost always have F-cups, and the show spends about a quarter of its screen time emphasizing them, along with the girls' asses. Of course, you can't talk about Dungeon Harem without talking about Hestia. Hestia is a character design, and I say character design because that's all everyone cares about. That's just mouth breather bait. Her boobs are enormous and bounce every time she moves. She's enamored with the protagonist, apparently just because he's kind of nice to her, or whatever. Don't ask questions, just accept it. And her personality changes to whatever the situation calls for. From retard moy blob slash loli, to tsundere, to unrequited admirer, to snarker, to whiny child. There's no order or consistency to her personality at all, so she's basically just trying to appeal to a ton of fetishes at the same time, and she's obnoxious as fuck. Apparently, just by character design alone, she gathered a huge groundswell of popularity before the show even began. She's been dominating Pixiv with doujin shit. It's just like Inori from Guilty Crown. Half of the show's hype comes from the character design of the main girl alone. Hestia's design is as generic as it gets. It's about as simple as you can do when you're trying to invent an outfit that shows off a girl's body. They're both slutty as hell, but at least Inori's design is creative. The plot is about as superficial as it gets. There's basically not even a story. There's just a premise for banal things to happen. And things happen pretty schizophrenically and randomly with a lot of in-your-face bullshit, so it's pretty obvious that the show is intended for the typical easily entertained adolescent otaku with ADD. The visuals are just enough to get by. The soundtrack is totally forgettable, as are the opening and ending themes. The voice acting is par for the course for harems, with a generic sounding protagonist and moe sounding girls, with no actual noteworthy acting to be heard as of yet. Ultimately, Dungeon Harem is bland in every way. Many people cry that you can't judge the entirety of a show based on a couple of episodes, but this is one of the shows where I can say that I definitely can. The anime shows no potential to speak of. There's nothing even remotely unique about the show except for a loli with F-cups who's a mix of like 5 different stereotypes. Dungeon Harem is by the numbers in every way, and I can't recommend the show whatsoever, unless you're a whale who consumes any and all generic bullshit.